Well, I want to go over the greatest miscalculation of the elite, and I know there's like always that word thrown around, the elite. What the hell? What is the elite, right? You always seem to hear that word thrown around in conspiracy circles, but there is a new world order agenda. There is a globalist agenda, and if you want to even go back years ago, and I'm showing a picture here of like very snowy city here, right? But let me put it this way: there's a point to this whole deal. Why I'm going and emphasize this way because if you go back, even decades, and I know it's like you can't prove it, but you can see things that were written a long time ago. That how do you get the population that's so of the globe that's so diverse, has so many different cultures, and so many different languages, so many different things that's important to them, that they will all jump aboard on what issue could be very common to all of them. And one of the things out of that think tank, actually I think it was the Club of Rome or the Committee of 300, which is like one of the Al Gore's a member, I was to combat the effects that mankind is having on the environment. And so they came up with global warming, right? Well, kind of like global warming is not really working out the way they said. I know, like, I got a lot of argument on YouTube from people, and I kind of thought more people knew about this, though, that global warming is kind of like not really happening. It's I know now they call it global climate change, but what's really going on, there's it's solar cycles. There's like other scientists that are not funded by the government that'll say they're called it dark sun. The solar activity is decreasing. The solar sunspots are decreasing. And it's just like a normal thing that's been going on for thousands of years. If you go back to the 1600s, I think it was back in the 1600s, you can walk across the Arctic Sea from, because it was frozen over like ice pack. It was permafrost ice pack from Denmark all the way to Scandinavia. They used to have roadways there built on the ice pack with all year. It was just there, like something like on the northern polar regions or something. It was never thought out. And they had hotels built there for travelers and stuff. I mean, it was like a totally different world. Actually, if you read back in ancient history, northern Italy, not even in the Alps, they have battles, and you read about the battles. I remember reading some of those things. The snow was way steep. Now, what I'm bringing out this is because this is kind of a major miscalculation for the elite, because they really bet a lot of their eggs on this global warming deal. Actually, even if you want to even see how the elite are all interconnected, the Gorbachev USA Foundation, that's a big environmental that's a big environmental well, that's the name of it. Gorbachev, the guy that used to be in charge of Russia. That's a big environmentalist think tank, right? So, I mean, they really miscalculated the hell out of this damn thing, because it's going to get really obvious. We had the global warming pause. I'm bringing this up because this actually has a lot of it's a big major miscalculation on the part of the elite. It has a lot of implications for the future. Now, one of the biggest problems is going to be food, because the growing seasons is going to get a lot shorter. That's one reason I think Mr. Jim Rogers is going to make a lot of bank. A lot of money, because he's betting heavily on agriculture. Oh boy, you ain't kidding. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on agriculture because of the cooling climate. I don't know, maybe I'm saying something here unpopular, but if you want to look at a site, I've known about this for years, and I was fairly well convinced about it because the big object out there called the sun, it has a hell of a lot more to do with how cool or how warm the earth gets, rather than this little flea that we call mankind sitting on the surface of the earth. If the Mother Earth wants to just shake us off, anytime, they can. I mean, that's really how it works. I mean, I'm kind of joking about this, but I'm serious, man. Well, here it is, iceagenow.com, or actually go to iceagenow.info. Um, you know, but we've always had these cycles. Ice age is ending. It must be our fault back there in prehistoric time. Because we used to, there was things that, there was the glaciers in North America at one point in time too, right? Part of North America going into the United States even. But some of that's going to actually start returning. There's some estimates that even Atlanta, Georgia, is going to be like Chicago within 30 years. Maybe that's pretty extreme, but I'm not running a conspiracy channel here or anything like that. I'm telling you something I think is probably solid core fact, and it's a major miscalculation on the part of the elite because they're trying to push for this carbon tax over man-made global warming. Now they call it global climate change, and I'm surprised a lot of people aren't really waking up to this garbage yet, but it's going to get real obvious in the next few years because the pendulum has started to swing. We've already hit the global pause, and now the swing is going to the other way. You can see the Arctic ice caps are increasing. Now, actually, this Arctic ice caps in the North Polar regions increasing is actually throwing a monkey wrench in Russia's oil exploration because they're thinking that it's going to get more warm and they're going to have more access to the Arctic regions to do more oil exploration because the polar ice caps are melting. Well, that's going to be a major miscalculation on their part too. But I'm going to tell you this. The fact that I know people are arguing with me, but it's going to come out no matter what the hell they tell you because I'm going to tell you right now, the media, the major media, I think they're flat out lying to you about this stuff with the global warming. And even when they're telling you, there's glaciers coming down and all, they're telling you a part of what's going on in the world. Like there's areas of the world where sometimes the temperature of the oceans go up, and there's underwater volcano activity that's going on too. It's not always because the Earth overall is getting warmer or cooling. But I'm just gonna put it out to you like this: that I'm pretty damn sure we're going into a cycle that's getting cooling, that's going cooling. And that is a major miscalculation for the elite because they bet heavily that they're going to be able to push this global warming, or now they're calling it global climate change because it's not global warming so much, to get people to bite on a global carbon tax so they can fund a global government. And it's actually going to create a shortage, I think, of food and energy because we're going to have shorter growing seasons. Now, this is not like a doom and gloom. Let me put it this way. I think there's actually ways around this because let me give you one other thing because here's the maximum extent of glacialization in North America. Maybe it's going to get like almost like that, but it's over the next 30 years, it's 20 to 30 years, you're going to see major differences. Major differences. It sounds a little stupid now, but I think the science that's behind this is pretty damn solid. And if you actually look back in history, even like Valley Forge, where George Washington crossed the Delaware River, he's all frozen over. When the hell did that happen? Even like last year, you saw Niagara Falls froze over. And I know some people are saying, well, it's because, the polar airs are coming down here and everything's getting all mixed up. In other words, the Arctic airs are coming down to this part of the globe where they should be left up there in the North Pole, I guess. But what I'm saying is, I think it's really going to be revealed that you're going to see most areas of the Earth really get a lot colder, and it's just going to blow apart the global warming theory. But what's going to happen is what's going to come about on that is a food shortage, and it's also going to increase energy requirements because even some of the winters we've had here recently, now I know the glacialization is not like this. This is ancient history here. But even in the 1800s, it was like there was a lot more. I think it was Glacier Mountain Glacier Mountain Park, it's called, in Montana. There was like many times as many glaciers in that area than there is today. There's only a few left. But I know people are arguing with me about this, but we'll see. It's not something that's going to happen this week. It's going to happen over the next few years. Even it's not going to. It's not going to take 10 years. It's not going to take 5 years. You're going to start seeing it happen right about this year, to next year, and the year after. And it's been going this way a little bit. You've been seeing some hints of things happening, like where Niagara Falls froze over, which is very freaking rare. But that did happen back in the 1800s. You've seen some record snowstorms in New York City. You've seen some record snowstorms this November, even in Buffalo. They say, well, that was a freak thing, but it happened in Russia, it happened in China, it happened in northern Japan, where they got as much snow as they usually get in an entire year, even though those are snowy areas. But for them to get that much snow in November is very unusual. So what I'm saying is, this is a major miscalculation of the elite, because they're betting on this global warming stuff. Now, to get back to the food production thing, because say for instance a lot of this is Arctic, it goes this way over the next 30 years or so. There's scientists that, and I'll just tell you again, go to iceage.info. It's got a lot of stuff on there. There's other books out there, but I'm not going to get into all the details on this because you could freaking really spend emptying hours. But there is hope for food production, because I put out about this before. It was a video I did, Wake Up the Primeval Code, and it was about treating seeds with between two fields of electricity. And I believe the bottom field of electricity was negative, the top was positive. The electricity did not go through the seeds per se, like conduct electricity, but the seeds were put on a plastic tray, and they were within the field of electricity. And what it did was it woke up the DNA that was hidden, the best expression of DNA that was hidden in the seeds themselves. Now, I did read a little more detail. It was very hard to dig up kind of exactly what they did with this. I think it was 5,000 volts they used, and there was a space distance of about 8 inches apart between a negative plate and a positive plate, and the seeds were in between there with nothing. No electricity was actually passing through the seeds. But just to throw that theory out there, that there's possible ways. The reason I'm saying that was excellent discovery, it was actually by I have to point to the link on that video I did, because I don't remember all the work off the top of my head, but it was done by some of the top pharmaceutical and companies in the world. It wasn't done by one small independent researcher. It was done by a team of scientists, and it was interesting because they're pushing genetically modified food, which is seedless. So in other words, they can actually take genetically modified seeds and change them back into the better than organic by using these methods, by bringing out the best DNA expression. But the implications are also great, because the growing season for wheat was reduced to a fraction of what it normally is, which could be great, big good thing, because if you're having a much shorter growing season because of global cooling, well, and you're wondering about food production, well, that's a solution. Now, actually, I have videos on the Lakowski coil, Lakowski multi-wave oscillator. That may actually work. I don't know if that would work, but that's kind of a theory. But that's a device that uses I don't have the picture of it over here, but it was a device developed back in the 1930s by George Lakowski. He used it on plants to cure the plants of cancer. He used it on people to cure them of cancer. What it brings in was energies and frequencies into the organism, and It strengthens the organism. Now, that might be something to actually try to treat the seeds with. It uses 3 Tesla coils in the base unit, and then in a Tesla coil, one each in ascending and receiving array of coils. I don't have a picture of it over here, but I'll kind of point to some links on some of the videos I did on a Lakowski coil, and also my blog I have on a small portable version of that Lakowski coil. But that may be a solution to actually counteract a global food shortage in the future if this global cooling does occur, as I think it's definitely going to occur. And that's one thing where the global elite have totally screwed up, because they're betting the other way. They're betting that there's going to be global warming, and they push this. In other words, when these people came together on this global warming thing, it was like a think tank. It says, we're going to fund scientists that say this, and we're going to convince people there's global warming going on so we can have a global carbon tax and more controls over the environment, and that's how we're going to rule the world. And the fact is, it's going the other way around, man. But we still got a problem with the climate. But it's not really due so much per mankind. It's due to just solar cycles. But if we go into this global cooling phase, it's enough to bring down the agricultural production of the earth that it would, would literally cause a lot of parts of the population to starve, far more than it's what's even going on today. And maybe that's what the elite want, but I don't like the elite. Okay, you know what I mean? And maybe the elite want this to happen anyway, and I'm thinking, screw the elite. I think actually there's always a way around everything. It's just that some of the best information is buried. And I'm going to state this, I'm not one of the alternative media per se, because I've been looking at some of these people in the alternative media, like even Jeff Rentz, which is not too bad, I don't think, but it's almost like they have an agenda. It's like they kind of like post all each other's garbage, and I don't even know what the hell they put out, to tell you the truth, too much, because I kind of look at some of it. But then I look at it and I say to myself, they're all posting each other's stuff. None of them are really thinking outside the box. I try to freaking put out something that's far different from the rest of the people, and I'm not professing that I know what the elite are thinking exactly, because I don't think there is a monolithic group up there that thinks all the same. I think there's like rich and powerful people, but they all compete and fight with each other all the time, so it's constantly changing, and no plans are rigid. That's one of the deals. But the one thing they really are screwing up on is this global warming, because it's definitely not going to happen, man. It's definitely not going to happen. We're going the other way around. But we do have a major environmental problem, and maybe it's not, I don't think it's caused by mankind. It's caused by the sun. But, the other thing is, what the hell are you going to do about it? How much energy requirement extra is going to come out to heat homes in areas that were not as cold as they were before. Like, in other words, if Washington D.C. is more like Montreal, Canada, it's like it's already taxing the infrastructure as it is. And it's like, I don't think they can I don't think the electrical companies and the utility companies are going to be able to handle the winters that are coming up in the future, and it's going to create such demand on energy that, well, I don't think energy prices are going to stay down. Energy prices right now are being pushed down because they're trying to break Russia for, their crimes against Ukraine, but I don't think it's actually going to work, because of the solar activity's been decreasing over the last few years, and it's going to continue that way, and that's going to create a much greater demand for energy. So, the Western elite are kind of like miscalculating that in some ways too. But, I think there's a game going on overall that, it's not so much like the Western elite, it's more like the elite all over the world are against all of us, man. And that's really what the hell's going on. And there is loads of total disinformation agents in the alternative media that are steering everybody wrong, including like people like that are into religion, and people that still, I always point out that Pastor Lindsey Williams guy is another yo-yo that just brings out things that are false a lot of times, and it's been proven false. But one of these days the guy's going to be right. But what I'm bringing up this for is that the people on the top that control things, per se, or think they control things, they don't control things, man. They only control things when you think they control things. In other words, once they think, once you give up and once you stop thinking outside the box, hang it up, man. And I'm going to tell you one thing I'm going to be doing with some of this deal, because I think that energy is one of the key solutions to fixing the problems. And one of the things we can actually do is go to diesel fuels, because a lot of those are plant-based. Like, as a matter of fact, any type of diesel fuels that we use in vehicles or anything like that, for instance, you can use peanut oil, hemp oil, Crisco oil from the Burger King or something like that, and run your vehicle on it. Because I think that in the future, we actually are going to see a massive spike up in the price of energy, not due to the elite doing it to us, but due to global cooling. And, I know all the disinformation agents out there in the alternative media are going to be saying, oh, the elite are doing it. Nah, they're not doing it. I think what's going on is it's just a natural thing that's happening. And, one thing we got to keep in mind is there should be no global carbon tax, because we're not going to be going into global warming. We're not. And, it's like they're not going to be able to argue even for global climate change. Yeah, I guess maybe global climate change, as the sun has been changing the climate for the last millennia, thousands of years, right? But it's not going to freaking be like due to us. It's not going to be due to us. But in any case, it's going to actually tax the system for food and energy. So those are going to be two extremely expensive items in the future due to global cooling. But we can still fix the problem by thinking outside the box. And like I said, one of these is with the food production. I just want to point to that video I did with the waking up to primeval code. Very interesting theory. Very interesting, and it's been totally ignored, because they want to control the food supply through genetically modified foods that don't produce seeds. That's an elitist plan. That is. But there's ways around it, because you could actually take GMO and change it back to better than organic. There's a lot of interesting things out there. And there's a lot of things where we can run fuels directly from oils that come from plants without a lot of processing, like biodiesels, which are much more fuel efficient. And in other words, you don't need, Big Shell or Exxon or BP or Rosneft or anything like that to provide all the fuel for your home and provide the fuel for your cars, because diesel engines will run pretty much anything out there. You got to thank Rudolph Diesel for that. So there's ways around things, even that we know right now, without getting too high tech. But this is something where the elite have totally miscalculated. We are going into global cooling in a major way versus global warming.